The Night King is coming. You damn skippy he is. In this video, I want to discuss what exactly will go down in Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 3. I'm going to reference the promo shots that we were given, but also I'm going to talk about some of the massive amounts of leaks that have been sent throughout the long night. Now, we all must prepare ourselves. In Episode 3, anyone can get it. Literally, any single one of the characters who is alive right now and in Winterfell could die at any moment in this episode. And I have to keep reiterating that, not only for you, but for myself. We have 1 week to prepare ourselves. Here's your sign and let's begin. Now before we get started, please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 4,269. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then, this is the most important part, make sure you have your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video throughout this long night. Now, first things first, I actually just reviewed Episode 2. You can find a link down below in the description, and a link right up here. Go ahead and watch that, so you're prepared for what will happen in Episode 3. Now, the biggest shot that has me worried from this freaking Episode 3 promo, and I know my tone and voice just changed, because the more I start to get in the mode for this video by watching that promo over and over again, the more I start to realize that something crazy happens, and they're showing us clips from it in this actual promo. There's a moment in the teaser where we see Daenerys diving through the air on the back of Drogon. Now, I know I'm taking a bit of a wild guess here, but there's another moment in the trailer where we see Jon Snow with no armor. We know that he got armored up and they were ready for the dead. They had literally just finished preparing for them. So the fact that Jon Snow somehow gets stripped down, and then we see him again here in the Godswood where he finally draws his sword, this is the moment where Jon Snow faces off against the Night King. I'm pretty sure to begin the battle, Daenerys and the Night King start going at it. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be with Jon Snow not being as comfortable on Rhaegal and Daenerys being like the expert dragon rider here. She's going to go and immediately engage the Night. She has a vendetta against him. The Night King has enslaved her child. Our queen has a history of freeing slaves, and I'm pretty sure the moment she lays eyes on her son again, she's going to want to end his enslavement from the Night King. Now, mainly why the reason that scene of Daenerys sort of diving down in the promo has me worried is because I've been sent a leak, and I'll give fair spoiler warning right now. Click out of the video or skip ahead about a minute and a half. But one of the leaks that I was sent through the DMs over on Twitter, speaking of which, make sure you go follow me at @Sir_Hunts, but one of the leaks that in particular was about Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 3 has Jon Snow and the Night King facing off. There's a bit of a tussle in midair, and Daenerys forces the Night King to the ground, and in doing so, he rolls and Viserion sort of disappears in the brush. Jon is apparently forced off of his dragon early on in the fight, and he's late to catch up to the crash site of where Daenerys and the Night King landed. Now, this leak eventually has Jon Snow making his way over to Daenerys and the Night King, and once he gets there, Daenerys is already looking around for the Night King, and after making eye contact with Jon, the Night King's blue eyes appears in the mist behind Daenerys, and his spear stabs her through the heart. Daenerys falls to the ground lifeless, and this is when Jon Snow begins his assault on the Night King. Now, obviously, that leak could be a load of horse shit, as nothing is confirmed until it airs on your television screens in like 5 days. I've broken it down before in a video, and like I mentioned in that exact video, I don't think it's fair of me to break it down, because any leak that involves Daenerys dying, I'm probably going to rip it apart unfairly because she's my favorite character. But when I do take a step back and do my job of being unbiased, it's 100% possible for Daenerys to die. We do have the possibility of Melisandre showing up to resurrect her, but if Jon Snow dies, that would be a bit of circular storytelling. He's already died before, and the importance that they laid on him this season makes us think that his plot armor has now become thick enough to stop a spear from the Night King. Just sort of moving things along here, I was sent another leak that had things going somewhat similar. Instead of Jon Snow being on a dragon, it had Daenerys being solely on a dragon, and through a combination with her and Jon Snow's teamwork, they're able to force the Night King to the ground. Once he lands, they think they're going to get him in a one-on-one fight, but the Night King quickly kills some soldiers that follow Jon and turns them into minions in his undead army. One of these individuals is said to be Tormund and Dolorous Edd, and this is what causes Jon to actually get wounded. Supposedly, Arya takes them to the ground with an arrow before they can inflict any further damage on Jon. Now, this leak actually states that the moment Jon Snow's sword comes in contact with the Night King's ice sword, Longclaw shatters, and the only way the Night King is forced into retreat is when Daenerys shows up and starts whipping around the dragon flame. Now, just jumping back into the actual shots we get from the promo, there's another shot that has me somewhat confirmed, and that's of Brienne at the very end. She yells out, "Stand your ground," and the newly knighted Sir Brienne of Tarth may feel as though she's got something to prove. The the fact that it looks like she's on the front lines, in my opinion, is pretty stupid. Bran is probably the most skilled warrior in all of Winterfell, and the fact that she's on the front lines is dumb. She needs to be close to all of the crucial characters who can't necessarily fight for themselves in order to save them. Now, it could just be the way they split together this promo, or maybe the angle that this was filmed at makes it look as though she's on the front lines. But a lot of people think that because this seems to be the case, and that it's Brienne of Tarth being on the front lines, that she will die. Actually, in my live stream that I filmed right after episode 2 went off, which you can click the link right up here or down below in the description, go check that out. But a lot of people in the comment section tend to think that Brienne is going to get it. And jumping into some of the leaks that I've been sent here, there's actually a scene that leaked in episode 3 that supposedly involves Jaime and Brienne. The two of them are fighting in the same company, which we saw in episode 2. Jaime wanted to fight under her flank, but the two of them are set to be fighting off massive amounts of undead. There's a moment where they become overwhelmed and they get split up. After a few cutscenes of different characters fighting, we cut back to Jaime and he starts looking for Brienne after they were initially separated from being overwhelmed by the huge hordes of whites. Once Jaime spots the top of Brienne's head through the crowd, he starts making his way towards her. He gets about 3 feet away before he realizes what's happened, and in slow motion Brienne turns around, revealing that she's been turned into a white. At some point during the battle, while they were separated, she was overwhelmed and turned by a nearby White Walker. The undead Brienne has a huge chunk of her face missing, and then she jumps on Jaime before the camera cuts to black. We don't find out what happens to them until post-battle, and this is in, according to this leak, the last few minutes of the episode, where we see an emotionally wrecked Jaime lying over Brienne's corpse. Now, a lot of people do tend to think that Brienne stands a chance of dying this episode, and it's interesting because I've been sent so many leaks. I've had a lot of them where Jaime dies, and also it happens in front of Brienne. Basically, to sort of summarize, there's a moment where all of Jon Snow's closest companions are able to trap the Night King. He's forced out of the air and off of the dragon by Daenerys, and once they get him on the ground, Jorah, Sandor, Jaime, Brienne, Tormund, Grey Worm, and Jon all start making their way towards the Night King. They all sort of take their go Avengers style, and after the Night King kills most of the individuals who tracked him down, Jaime is able to grab the Night King's sword and runs it through his heart once the Night King has his back turned. Right as Jaime does this, nearby White Walkers immediately launch their ice spears at Jaime, and he's pinned several different ways. Brienne rushes to his side, and as the dead all drop and turn to dust, Jaime takes his last breaths in Brienne's arms. Now, like I said when I initially made the video on that is insane and will likely never happen. Although the part about Jaime dying in Brienne's arms does seem pretty poetic. He did just knight her in episode 2, and the fact that she can't really see him as a lover, well, let me rephrase that. According to Dan and Dave that they did in Inside the Episode of episode 2 of Game of Thrones season 8, they mentioned how Brienne has always been sort of tormented by Jaime, and in the moments where Jaime says, "I want to fight underneath you," that's kind of where she realizes that maybe she does love him, maybe he loves her, and she's never really allowed those feelings to surface. So this is why she just sort of walks away. But the fact that they had such emotional scenes in episode 2 makes me think that one of the two of them will die in episode 3. We have to remember that Jaime has a contract, and supposedly the rumor is that he's only going to be in 4 episodes of Game of Thrones season 8. Now, it was amended to say that he's going to be in all 6 episodes, and then he's just going to only appear in 3 or 4. But who knows at this point, and really, we only have a few days to wait to find out. Since I have it here, what are the odds, and you all let me know down below in the comment section, but what are the odds that both Jaime and Brienne survive? I know we've got to lose some major characters next episode, but I feel like the two of them have such great chemistry that their arc just deserves to be played full out. And wait, this is Game of Thrones, and those types of characters get killed immediately. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid for both Brienne and Jaime. I'm huge fans of both characters. This episode is going to be insanely hard to watch, and just sort of touching back on what I was talking about Jon and Daenerys, I feel like there's a chance, that a pretty strong chance might I add, that both of them survive this episode. It'll only be halfway through the season, and Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke are two of the highest paid actors on the show, so they'll at least make it until the remaining 2 episodes. And just sort of relaying what I was saying a few minutes ago about Brienne and Jaime, they seem happy. Daenerys seems happier than she's ever been when she's with Jon in episode 1. And yes, the news of who his true lineage is has rocked the foundation of the relationship. Most of what we've seen is not really them having a chance to deal with it. And I think that's how this season's going to go with it. I think we've all thought for 2 years it's going to be this big drastic thing, and it is, but they're in such a crazy time right now, no one's really going to process it properly. I'm pretty sure after the Battle for Winterfell, this is going to be the first thing they discuss. But also, we have to remember that they have another thing to deal with, Cersei Lannister. Now, we did not see Miss Lena Headey at all last episode, so that means this next episode, episode 3 of season 8, is likely going to start with her character. Last time we saw her, she banged a pirate and was upset that she didn't receive any elephants. This means that when we do see her at the start of episode 3, she's likely going to be putting her plans into action. Now, according to some leaks that have been sent and just a general acceptance from the massive Game of Thrones fandom, this speculation is likely to happen. The Golden Company will be sent to Winterfell right after the battle ends. Now, anything could happen, so I don't want to say 100% they get sent to Winterfell, but they will be involved in this episode somehow. They're not just going to be sitting around, and we know the theme of this episode will be in-game war, and the stakes have never been higher. Now, one idea that has been pretty popular throughout the off-season is that the Night King doesn't go to Winterfell. Instead, he goes straight to King's Landing. The reason why he does this is because he knows that in the Battle for Winterfell, Daenerys, her 2 dragons, and her and Jon Snow's combined armies will defeat his current army of the dead, or at least mostly slaughter them. Instead, he sends a good chunk of his White Walkers, all of his army, and then flies straight to King's Landing himself. He's fought off by the Golden Company, but he's ultimately successful, and Harry Strickland and the other survivors from the Golden Company go and join Jon Snow's forces after seeing what the Night King is capable of. Now, I don't really know what will happen, but Bran Stark stated, or I guess the Three-Eyed Raven, one of the iterations of the Three-Eyed Raven, stated in episode 2 that he is the Night King's target. So the fact that Night King would skip over his target in total and just attempt to go and double his army size seems a little bit silly to me. He knows Bran is there, and he knows that most likely he'll be out in the open. I'm pretty sure we get a dragon on dragon battle scene in this episode. It wouldn't have taken so long to film, and it would be completely out of character for the Night King given what we were just told by Bran in episode 2, although it kind of would keep everyone guessing. Maybe he does some shit like leave halfway through the battle because he knows that he's going to lose most of his army, and that's when he goes to King's Landing. We know that we were seeing several leaks that it wasn't actually a leak. You could have actually taken a 3D tour of the Belfast studio where they filmed for King's Landing, and when you take that tour, you see that everything was just sort of burned the ash. All the streets of King's Landing had massive piles of burned wood and were just utterly destroyed. Now, I don't really know what to expect, so in conclusion, I think that's what makes this show so great, is no matter the fact that I've speculated on season 8 for literally 2 years now, I still am going into this episode not knowing anything other than the fact that someone we love and care about is about to die like a motherfucker. Real quick, you all let me know who you think stands the most chance of dying in Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 3. Now remember, we still have 3 more episodes after that to get through, so there's a still chance that other people are going to die. So what I'm talking about specifically is in Episode 3. As a matter of fact, I actually have a poll in the community section of my YouTube page where you can go and vote in that, and let's see if we all guessed right when Episode 3 premieres next week. Now, I do want to mention one more thing about this promo before I get out of here, and that's that there's a shot from the promo where we see Theon holding a flaming arrow, and he's about to shoot somebody in the face. And just a little side note here, at one point in the novels, Theon is actually known as the greatest archer in the Seven Kingdoms. And the fact that Theon is clearly drawing his bow ready, prepared to shoot, and he was just tasked with the responsibility of making sure Bran is safe, lets me know that the dead, with it being on fire, have infiltrated the Godswood. So if we touch back on what I said in my episode 2 breakdown, where the Night King is listening to Bran and he now knows their plan of trying to put him out in the open, maybe the Night King reverses that and sends just massive amounts of whites to go and try to kill Bran. He doesn't have to personally do it, although maybe he does, because this is exactly what he did to the previous Three-Eyed Raven, is kill him by his own hand back in season 6. Maybe that's like the one part of his humanity that's left, is that revenge side. He needs to feel that sweet, sweet release of revenge. I don't know. You all let me know what you think down below in the comment section. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 420. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then make sure every notification's turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night. Super special shout out to every single person watching, and a super special thank you to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunts Reviews.